is there to bring in anyone and everyone, both in support or not in support, whomever, to express larger order ideas. It's like a town hall, but much larger. You can have guest speakers. You can do a lot more with this particular day. We've had very good luck with Zeitgeist Day. We've had major reviews and big publications because of this, and it's only going to get larger if people continue to do it. That will come up in March of next year. So Town Hall, Zeitgeist Day, Zeitgeist Media Festival. Now there's something that I haven't mentioned yet. Actually, I'm going to wait on that because it's not relevant to this particular point. The engagement of the community, there's plenty of things you can do. So if you believe in this direction, you want to help society with these ideas, if you see the problem and you see the solution, then it's up to you to figure out creative ways to do so. This is what we're all doing. We're not at a stage where we're all trying to be jock frescoes and do heavy level invention. This is far too distant right now. If we can get the values of the system down where people can understand it, then we can get engineers and scientists that can also understand it. And then eventually this will materialize. But it has to start with the value shift level initially. And this is what makes the Zeitgeist movement so critical and what separates it from the Venus Project in structure. It's very, very important that each one of us think of ideas, like for example, in your meetings, in your chapter meetings, in the administration meetings of coordinators. The majority of the conversation should be about what people are doing to engage the external. That's it. Be very, very careful if you get into internal debates, personality conflicts. I mean, unfortunately, this goes along with the territory of having such a large group of people broken into segments. Sometimes egos get in the way. This is something that has to be dealt with, but everyone has to have patience with each other and remember what the final goal is. If we can't communicate these ideas and get the public to understand these ideas in mass, then we're going to fail, and that's that. So that's where the skill set needs to arise within all of us. I do it with my films. The orientation, PDF, and video will be out soon for others to digest. I shouldn't have to belabor it, and I think everyone understands it. But I do notice again a certain placated behavior in the midst of a world that's starting to come down on itself. And I can only just encourage you as best I can to really do your best to try and go one person at a time, group by group, to try and get people to understand this. Remember, the Zeitgeist movement is really irrelevant. It's irrelevant by its name, it's irrelevant by its sense of institution. It's there to create critical mass, but that really means we're trying to get the humanity to share a similar value set so we can get away from this parasitic paradigm that's destroying us, this destructive paradigm. It's not about the Zeitgeist movement. It's not about the Venus Project. It's not about Peter Joseph. It's not about Jacques Fresco. It's not about any individual or any organization. It's about a common value theme of sustainability, learning those values from the scientific causality around us, about what truth actually is, not what tradition has manifested, both political, economic, or even religious. These are, in and of themselves, problematic institutions because they're not actually based on truth and what sustains humanity. This is the core of the philosophy, and it branches out into all sorts of other fields that can help us, from how we apply technology, from what we can do to improve human health across the board, mental health. That's why I had all that information in Zeitgeist moving forward at the beginning about public health. People don't think about society with respect to public health, but that's precisely how we should be thinking about it, not GDP and money and everything else that's become so distorted. So anyway, I'm not going to go on that tangent either. But I will say before I forget that there is the think tank that I've mentioned a few times that I'm still keeping on the back burner as we build up the rest of these issues that I've mentioned prior, that will begin actually engaging reconstruction processes based on what's technical, not what's affordable. This will be a think tank that will eventually have an annual event, maybe even multiple annual events globally, where they show through 3D modeling how individual regions can be made sustainable, and to show how the kind of prosperity can exist through those processes. This isn't anything new. We've talked about this before, but it's very important because this will manifest the data set, the self-evident data set that really really is very obvious, but no one is willing to think about things in the terms of what's possible through resources and design scientifically. They only think about things through what they can afford. And if we can get the public to understand that, that would be a tremendous accomplishment, for they would no longer have patience for this sort of monetary issue. Okay, so I apologize in general. I'm really tired. I hope all of this makes sense. The okay, the town halls. I'd like to shift gears here and talk about the market system for a second. This is a context of the market system I've never actually talked about. At least I don't think I have. I'm always obsessed with kind of finding the root of things. What does it mean? What is the intent of something at its core of any particular structure or approach? For example, we have a competitive market economy. The invisible hand claims that Darwinistic competition and the pursuit of one's self-interest somehow magically manifests the benefit of the society as a whole. Obviously, we know that isn't true, but that is the philosophy. But at the core of that, what is the real argument? At the core, it's stating that, okay, we do have to take care of society. It does make the assumption that there has to be some type of broader social organization, even though it's based in a very erroneous manner on the idea that everyone pretending like there isn't an association will somehow manifest that. And this is where the free market's distortion and anarchy really originates. What does it mean to have a competitive society to produce a collaborative effect? Because that's really what it is. It's a competitive notion that's seeking a collaborative and unifying effect. Obviously, that doesn't work. But it's interesting to see the point, because at the very bottom of it really is a social interest, at least in part. And I think that's very fascinating. So I apply that same logic to the market system itself. What is the process of the free market with individual corporations and rights ownership of certain resources and the trade mechanisms? What is really being facilitated here? And it's obvious enough. It's facilitating the creation of utility-based goods, creative utility as I would call it. It's enabling a communal environment, even though it's self-interest generated through proprietary corporations hiding their information and competing against others. There still is a collaborative nature to it, once again, because of the trade mechanism that exists in whatever form, and you can do your own analysis on the integrity of that. I am not going to go into the tangent of how utterly inefficient all attributes of cost efficiency and trade are. Globalization, this is something I've talked about at length. If you are not familiar with that, you can go back to probably any of these talks and find a lot of data on that. But the market system itself is really enabling this communal creativity and this sharing of resources, in fact, as dysfunctional as it is. People often say to me, okay, in a resource-based economic model where you have a non-market system where you have what is loosely defined but is not defined at all, but as a planned economy. Is it planned? Yes, it is planned. It's planned in localized ways that are interconnected strategically, scientifically built from the ground up based on resource management, and the most efficient scientific causality reference we can find, meaning the best designs that we can have for whatever purpose, in the most efficient way, peak efficiency, peak sustainability, all of that stuff. So the need to calculate society, the need to have, dare I say, a planned economy, I'm sorry, is critical.